Hey there, fantasy owners. Welcome to LTC Fantasy. Not sure if you're watching via YouTube or listening via podcast, but appreciate the listener watch nonetheless here as we continue to hopefully get you prepped, find some value for your upcoming fantasy drafts. We're going to look at the Florida Panthers today and look at their roster, defensemen, forwards, and goalies. Hopefully, as I mentioned, get some value for you for your drafts, try to project their fantasy value. We're going to do it based on the depth charts on dailyfaceoff.com. I do find them the most accurate, especially during the regular season there. And we'll jump right into it. Their goaltending tandem, exactly the same as last year, Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. Now, Bobrovsky is 33 years old. Last year played 54 games. He was 39-7-3. No surprise there. Florida was a dominant team this year. He had 3 shutouts, 2.67 goals against average. Bounce back had a .913 save percentage. Really solid season for him. Is he going to duplicate that this year? I think his goals against and save percentage will be there. I don't quite see him getting 39 wins this year. I think Florida took a little bit of good on him for changing their roster because it didn't work against Tampa in the playoffs. But I think they actually might have taken a step back. They lost some key pieces in Uyghur and Huberdeau. Yes, they did bring in Tkachuk, but they also lost Giroux. Duclair's out possibly for the whole season, might come in towards the end. But realistically, their depth got challenged for a bit there. Plus, they lost Mason Marchment too, etc. So I do see them coming back. They're definitely going to be a strong team, don't get me wrong. Bobrovsky is going to be fantasy relevant. I'm just not sure. He might be overvalued in a couple of drafts there, but if he does sneak back in your draft, definitely grab him. You're definitely going to get some value out of him. His partner, Spencer Knight, he's 21 years old, so really young goalie. Got into 32 games played, 19 wins, 9 losses, 3 overtime losses, had 2 shutouts, 2.79 goals against average and .908 save percentage. Pretty solid numbers there. Might be a little bit closer to a split in games depending what Bobrovsky shows up this season. But realistically, Bobrovsky's still signed for huge money for a long time. So they're probably going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Top pairing should be Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad. Now, Forsling, he's 26 years old. He's up to the top pairing now with Uyghur gone. Last year had 71 games played. He had 10 goals, 27 assists for 37 points. So definitely see him improving on those numbers where he might be a sneaky good pick towards the tail end of your draft. 45 hits, 86 blocks, and 145 shots on goal. Linemate Eric Ekblad, solid fantasy player. Definitely take him. I think he'd be obviously after Yossi, Hedman, etc. But Knight and Makar, very nice consolation prize nonetheless. But he got in, should be on the top power play, top PK, 26 years old. Played 61 games last year, 15 goals, 42 assists for 57 points. So almost a point per game defenseman. I don't see that changing anytime soon. 20 power play points, 62 hits, 69 blocks, 180 shots on goal. Second pairing should be Lucas Carlson and Radko Gudas. Carlson, he's 25 years old, played 40 games last year, had 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points. It's not really great there. 39 hits, 29 blocks, 41 shots on goal. So realistically, this is probably a nice player to have on your team. I say this for quite a few players, but you don't want him on your fantasy roster. Leave him alone. Radko Gudas, he should be on the second power or penalty kill unit. He's 32 years old. Last year, 77 games played, 3 goals, 13 assists for 16 points. So not a lot of offensive upside there, obviously, but through 355 hits. So if hits are counted in your league or you're in a banger league, that's definitely where you're going to find some value in them. 118 blocks, so nice block total, and 100 shots on goal. Their third pairing will be Mark Stahl and Brandon Montour. most third pairings, not a lot of value, but as we go on, I'll get into it. Mark Stahl should be on the second PK unit. He's 35 years old, so definitely up there in age. 71 games played, 3 goals, 13 assists for 16 points, 94 hits, 75 blocks, 76 shots on goal. Realistically, no fantasy value there, leave him alone. On the flip side, Brandon Montour, second power play unit, should be on the first PK. He's 28 years old. This is where you might find some value. Usually I keep away from third pairing D-men, but it might be somebody worth picking up early, especially if you have somebody on injured reserve. He'd be a nice fill-in. Last year, 81 games played, had 11 goals, 26 assists for 37 points. So basically half point per game. 8 power play points. He had 64 hits, 65 blocks, and 153 shots on goal. With Weegar leaving, Montour should get a little bit of increased ice time. That's why potentially I'd look at maybe drafting him very, very late, or at least keeping an eye on him and having him on a watch list, so to speak. Moving up front for Florida, their top line is Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, and Matthew Tkachuk. Now Verhaeghe, he's been Barkov's wingman the last couple of seasons, fared fairly well. He's on the second power play unit, 26 years old. Last year, 78 games played. He had 24 goals, 31 assists for 55 points. 3 power play points, 50 hits, 16 blocks only, so not going to wow you in the block department. 167 shots on goal. When you're the wingman to Barkov, you're definitely going to get some piggyback points, so he will be fantasy relevant. Just probably, last year he was low ownership, so you could probably get him more on a streaming basis than being forced to draft him, but there's fantasy value there nonetheless. Now Barkov, obviously he's going to get drafted. He'll be on the top power play unit, top PK unit. He too is 26 years old. 67 games played last year, so he missed 15 games, remember. 39 goals, so almost a 40 goal man, 49 assists, 88 points in 67 games. So he would have been right up there in the scoring race had he played all 82. Obviously, he would have been behind like Huberdeau and McDavid and Draisaitl, but he would have easily broken the 100-point plateau. 26 power play points, 50 hits, 42 blocks, and 214 shots on goal. Now the new addition, Matthew Tkachuk, should add a little jam in their lineup for sure. Top power play unit, only 24 years old. Last year, as Calgary's top line, kind of really all played well. 82 games played last year, 42 goals, 62 assists for 104 points. 29 power play points, 93 hits, 20 blocks, which is low, but the hits are nice up there, especially for a guy that scores over 100 points. 253 shots on goal. Really expect him to do well in Florida. He has a good supporting cast around him. Really good line mates playing with Barkov. He had that with Goudreau and Lindholm, but obviously he's going to be fantasy relevant again this year. Second line will be Rudolph's Balcers, Sam Bennett, and Sam Reinhart. Now, Rudolph Balcers came out signed in the offseason from San Jose there. Should be on the second power play unit. He's 25 years old. Last year, 61 games played, 11 goals, 12 assists for 23 points. 115 hits, 43 blocks, and 98 shots on goal. Realistically, don't draft him. But he has a lot better line mates than Bennett and Reinhart this year. So I will be watching just to see how he does gel in there. And it might be more of a depth player, a streaming option for you. Sam Bennett, he should be on the top power play unit. He's 26 years old. Got into 71 games last year. He had 28 goals, 21 assists for 49 points. So decent production. Plus he'll be playing on the top power play unit this year. 9 power play points, 119 hits, 27 blocks, 241 shots on goal. Realistically, if you get a multiple position on him where he's listed as center, left wing, etc., if he's listed only as a center, I'm probably leaving him alone. But if you get where you could put him in a couple of different forward categories, I'd be looking to draft him. Sam Reinhart, he'll definitely be drafted, will be on the top power play unit. He too is 26 years old. He's got into 78 games last year. He had 33 goals, 49 assists for 82 points, so well over a point per game. 31 power play points, 49 hits, 30 blocks, 186 shots on goal. Another really good forward, and another one that's 26. 26 seems to ring a bell. There's Verhaeghe, Barkov, Bennett, and Reinhardt already that are all 26 years old there. Third line is Nick Cousins, Anton Lundell, and Colin White. Now, Nick Cousins, he should be on the second PK unit. He's 29 years old. Got into 68 games last year, had 9 goals, 13 assists for 22 points. Got 4 power play points, 66 hits, 28 blocks, and 103 shots on goal. Realistically, not a lot of fantasy value there, but he is playing with Lundell this year, as we'll get into him. So he might improve his production enough to be fantasy relevant. Probably not. More than likely not, to be honest with you. But Marchment was fantasy relevant last year playing with Lundell, so see how that shapes up there. Now, Lundell, on the other hand, he should be on the second power play unit and top PK unit. Only 20 years old. So look at the trust that they have in him, having a 20-year-old playing both specialty teams in PK and power play. 65 games played, he had 18 goals, 26 assists for 44 points. So really nice season for a 19-year-old. 4 power play points, 26 hits, 56 blocks, 125 shots on goal. Realistically, he could be a really nice sleeper for you in a draft. I know he's only going to get third line ice time, but based on the stats last year, and he was only 19, I don't know how he doesn't improve or at least equal those totals this year. And the last one on that line is Colin White. He is 25 years old, not the magic 26, but 25 years old. Got into 24 games last year, had 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points, 7 power play points, 28 hits, 4 blocks, 47 shots on goal. Now, a couple of years ago, he was a fantasy relevant player, but it's kind of a what have you done for me lately, so I'm realistically leaving him alone. Could be one of the better third lines in hockey, but what does that do for us fantasy-wise outside of Lundell? Realistically, I'm leaving White and Cousins alone there. Fourth line should be Ryan Lundberg, Eetu Lesterainen, and Patrick Hornquist. Now, Ryan Lundberg, he's 27 years old. Last year got into 55 games played. 9 goals, 9 assists for 18 points. Kind of a spark plug. 117 hits. It's a pretty good hit total for very, very limited ice time there. But fantasy relevant, not really. You're going to find way better options out there. 7 blocks, 91 shots on goal. Their centerman, Eetu Lesterainen. Kind of a similar story. Leave him alone. Should be on the second PK. 23 years old. Got into 78 games played. He had 9 goals, 17 assists for 26 points. So nice production for a fourth liner, but that fourth liners were really not interested in him in fantasy. 1 power play point, 103 hits, 46 blocks, and 84 shots on goal. Last one, Patrick Hornquist. He should still get some power play time. Should be on the second power play unit. He's 35 years old. Last year, 65 games played. He had 11 goals, 17 assists for 28 points. So really down season for him, and now he's relegated down to the fourth line. So don't fall into that trap of it's an off season and how he did fairly decent couple of years ago. If he's down in the fourth line, leave him alone. If he gets bumped into the top 6, then maybe look at him. Just don't fall into that trap of drafting him based on past, not what you've done for me recently here. 112 hits, 23 blocks, and 165 shots on goal. Really do hope this episode does help you out in your upcoming fantasy drafts here. If you're watching via YouTube, remember to hit like, hit subscribe, remember that notification bell. If you're listening via podcast, remember to hit that heart, hit follow, depending what platform you're listening on there. We'll be, after these previews are all done, we'll be starting with our top goalies for drafts, defensemen, and forwards, some of our sleepers, some draft strategy episodes. And of course, when the regular season starts, we'll have 3 episodes coming out every week to hopefully secure those wins for you. And again, enjoy the rest of the fantasy off season, and good luck in your upcoming drafts here, fantasy owners.